Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of the Amplify Business Conference. Do you ever wonder how to communicate with your ideal client, with your soulmate client? Maybe you struggle with your messaging and speaking to that one yummy person. That's what we're going to be talking about today with Barb Pritchard. We're going to be talking about how to identify your soul client persona. And energetically, when I heard that and saw that topic come in, I'm like, yes, because I tell my clients all the time, if you're talking to all, no one can see themselves in your description. So let me introduce Barb, and then we're going to dive into this conversation. Barb Pritchard is the CEO of Infinity Brand Design. She's a brand strategist, intuitive designer, and an expert in helping soulful visionaries, change makers, and transformational causes create magnetic brands that harmonize with their passion, purpose, and soul clients. With over 20 years of strategy and design experience, Barb learned inside strategies to grow Fortune 100 and 500 companies and applies those empathy-first approaches to heart-centered businesses. In her free time, she can be found exploring the world and history. Welcome, Barb. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for the honor of being here. I just love being in your space, and it's so wonderful. I love sharing brand goodness with people too, because this is such an important topic. I think so many people get so confused when you talk about branding and then you talk about your soul client. It's like, goodness, it's so difficult to find your soul client and then narrow them down, right?
And let's talk about that because, and I think I did this. I'm sure we all did. I've been an
We all
entrepreneur.
do.
Yeah, for 32 years, I remember going, well, I don't want to just talk to one person because I'm leaving so many out. But as I've discovered, we have to niche down because
Yes.
in the language we use and the messaging we use, if they can't see themselves in your messaging, in the stories you share, then they don't see that you can help them. So dive a little deeper into that because I think it's critical.
Absolutely. It's so important to niche down. And you're right, we all do this because it feels like when you niche, it feels like at first, especially when you don't niche down, you don't want to niche down because you're thinking you're just kind of pigeonholing yourself, right? But especially now, let's just kind of throw some numbers out there, okay? Per the US Census Bureau, in 2020, 4.4 million new businesses started. 2021, 5.4 million new businesses started. And last year in 2022, 5 million new businesses started. That's an average of, we'll say, 4.9 new businesses starting in the last 3 years. That's a lot. Niching down and standing out in the sea of sameness. I mean, you you have to have a strategic brand and showcase your magic, and it's never been more important. I mean, when you're talking to everyone, you really are speaking to no one. It just makes your makes marketing your product so much easier. It makes speaking about your services, your product, so much more natural. It helps just you show up in so much more confidence, right? Um, you're confident in you just about sharing your passion, your purpose, and your expertise. It just comes so much more natural. The beautiful thing too is like you can just magnetically attract and build your relationships too. But it also, of course, naturally repels the wrong people, which is important as well, wouldn't you say?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I only want to call in my ideal clients. I do a
Yeah.
meditation called connecting with the energy of your ideal client, right? It's
Mhm.
this, who is it you want to call in? Who is it you want to work with? I tell them, get really clear on that and then always hold the vision of that person, in my case, a woman.
Mhm.
Um, and that's what the soul client persona is, right? Is getting drilled down to exactly what she's feeling, what she's experiencing. I'm using she because most of my
Yeah.
clients are women. How do they start to do that?
Well, that's the thing, and it's important to get to one. And I say one because yes, you can have multiple depending on different offers or whatever, but I think it's really important to get to one because you're speaking to one person, right? I mean, I'm talking to you, and I think it's really important. Like you are my sole client. I want to speak to you and I want to, say, for example, I want to sell you branding. You obviously don't need branding, but say if I were, it would be ideal to make it appeal to you. And what are some words that I could use to make it sound magical to you? Well, there are four things to consider. When first, before we even get to identifying your soul client, to consider niching down, like what are you really good at? What do you feel really passionate about? Like what really lights you up? Who's willing to pay for that? Right? That's something super incredible to think about. Who's willing to pay for that? But it is that group big enough to make a living out of it? And who are they? Now, typically speaking, they're probably going to be pretty big. I mean, it's not really something that I would say, it's, I wouldn't typically worry about too much about that niching down too terribly much as far as like you're not going to hurt yourself there.
Yep.
Niching down is so important. Now, when it comes to identifying your soul client, the things you're going to really want to look at is people you're currently serving or who you want to serve. Who's dreamy to you? Um, you have that definition, but you want to lean really heavily into your intuition here. Who's dreamy to you? Do they see your value? Do they pay your worth? But do they respect your boundaries too? Right?
So it's like you're writing all this down, right? You're like writing all these characteristics of your ideal client, and we're writing them down, almost creating like a resume for them. Like
Mhm.
that's who you want to call in. And I love what you said too, is like we want someone that feels aligned to support, someone that understands the language we use. I talk woo and strategy, but if someone
Mhm.
doesn't understand woo, why would I want to call them in? I'm up front right in the at the beginning,
Yes.
because I wouldn't want to be surprised when I got into a course or program. So by being authentic in our messaging of who we want to serve, that's been the greatest gift for me over the last 15 years. I got clear in here and didn't care what the world was doing. I'm like, who's my yummy person? And a lot of us, and I'm sure you've heard this in your work with branding people, they spend more time out there seeing what everyone else is doing and go, but I want to do what she's doing and I want
Yes.
it to look like she's doing. And the truth is, it has to be the opposite, from the
Yes.
inside out, not the outside in.
Oh, so true. It's got to be so authentic to you because it needs to feel natural to you. You don't want to do what so and so is doing because you're not going to do it like them. You're going to do it like you. What feels natural to you? Um, I mean, I'm not going to do things like another brand designer is going to do. I'm going to do it like how I do it because I have my own special way of doing things. We could even do very similar processes, but I have my own je ne sais quoi, if you will, right? Um, and it's just a typical thing that you have your own personality too. You have your own attributes too. You want to make sure that that's infused into your brand as well. But here's the thing about your soul client as well too. I think something that's super important is to consider is the evolution of your brand, your business, because we don't stay the same. We
Yeah.
all evolve as do our businesses. A practice that I think is important as well is to meditate on where do you envision the evolution of your brand and your business, especially your business in six months to a year. Does that particular soul client that you want to call in, do they match who you're serving now? Do they still fit the bill? Will that soul client still need to evolve? That's who you want to base this on. This is who you're looking at, not who you're serving now, who you want to call in. Oh, so many goosebumps, like major goosebumps for this, right?
It's so important. And I love what you said, because sometimes, especially as in, let's talk to the new and emerging entrepreneurs right now, because I think they're the ones really
Hmm.
struggling with this. They're like, oh, but I don't want to say I do this because I'm afraid. So I'm going to say I do this. I go, well, then it's so watered down that they can't
Hmm.
see themselves. So identifying all the characteristics, listening to their intuition. I love that you said project ahead. So just because they're new right now, what's their vision for their business? One that lights them up when they're in the, curled up in their chair doing their vision map.
Yeah,
So
you still
that's
have expertise.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, like jump ahead to say, who is it that will align now as well as continue the journey with me for where I'm going?
Exactly. Because I mean, even if you work with someone, maybe 1 to 2 clients, 3 clients, whatever that looks like, whether they are paid clients or a barter system, however that works for you, you're going to get a really good idea of what that dreamy person's going to look and feel like. And it's really important. And I know some people have a difficult time of envisioning pictures, of imagining what that person may look like. So what does that person feel like if you're one of those people? That's really important. And then you define the soul client. And we're going to talk about demographics and psychographics. And don't skimp on this. This is really important information because what does that person do? And I, like you, my soul client is it's a she. Yours may be a they, a them, a he, whatever that may be. What is their profession? Where do they live? The age and the gender. All of this stuff is really important because it helps you to understand where to find them. Where to look for them. Um, and are they online? Or do you need to go find them in person? Are they at the coffee shop that's around the corner? What is their income level? What is their education level? What is their ethnicity and religion? And again, all of this information is super important because it helps you to understand where to meet them at. That's the most important thing. It's not so you can, we'll say, pigeonhole them or anything along those lines. It's to where you can meet them. This is all empathy approach, right? This is an empathy approach thing. Um, Personality attributes are something so important. Like one simple, like one word, maybe 2 word at most or something. Personality attributes that you can give them to really understand, like, oh, I know that, for example, mine are spiritually aligned. That's 2 words, right? But hyphenated. Um, they are healers, visionaries, that kind of thing. The more personality attributes you can give, it's okay. And the more narrow you can give, it's good. I kind of, want to go back to the whole, is this group big enough? It's okay to keep narrowing and narrowing and narrowing. I promise you, you cannot narrow down too much because even like with spiritual entrepreneur, for me, that's my niche. I'm finding you're going to have to keep niching down, right?
Yeah, and,
What?
and same with me. As you know, I serve mission-driven spiritual women entrepreneurs who are in the
Mhm.
personal spiritual development field. And then I narrow it from there from an energy. I want women who are go-getters, no victim mindset. They own their power. They're ready to take action, even if they don't know what that action is. They believe in the power of their dreams. They believe in possibility instead of like lack energy. And like they are passionate about what they do. Like that's an energy. And that's who I attract to me. I love
Mhm.
women who are collaborative. Now, those are the words for the entrepreneurs that I serve. But it took me a while to define them. And it took playing with them, different demographics and realizing, oh my God, this is who I'm meant to serve. And I've been serving them in one capacity or another for over 30 years. But identifying, it wasn't like one day I identified it and then it stayed that way for all these years. It's the more I played and met women like you, I'm like, oh, there's an energy there. What is it about Barb? Because that's information. That's
Yes.
information. And so I want to add something for those who maybe are just starting their coaching business. Even if you haven't seen clients yet, when you do those discovery calls, pay attention. Pay attention to the energy of the person in front of you. Like, ooh, what was it about her that you love? There's information in everything you do when you're starting. And what would you say to them, Barb?
I would also say some things that I like to do is check out their Facebook profile, check out their LinkedIn profile, do research on them. And I know this may sound kind of like, ooh, you're kind of lurking or kind of creeping on them. You're getting information to kind of help them further. It's empathy based, right? You want to understand them where they're at. You can get information on their background, like what do they like? Because this can all help you create products and services that can help meet them where what they need and help them overcome their obstacles. What even things like their background, their relationship status, even things like what do they look like? This can help you picture them in mind when you're doing things later on down the road, like copywriting for your website, your sales pages, and all of this good stuff. All of this is really good information to have so you can keep this beautiful soul client in mind as you're creating and manifesting, good things in your business for them, because we're here to serve. It's not about sales, right? It's about serving. And it's, oh my gosh, I've got so many goosebumps. It's just, it feels good because we're all here to lock arms together and make the world a better place, and understanding them. And whether you're doing, coffee chats, discovery calls, and kind of, checking them out to kind of better understand them, all of this information will only help.
And some women entrepreneurs have Facebook groups, right?
Mhm.
And if your Facebook group is even lightly connected to your overall mission, there's information in there. See what the answers are to questions you ask in the group related to your brand, right? They are already drawn to you. Stop paying attention to them. Have those engagement conversations to glean more information. And the other
Yes.
thing too is why this is so important to identify your soul client persona is when you get to the point in your business of making offers, remember, we want to create programs and offerings that fit a need that they're struggling with. And if you are not paying attention to that persona, that ideal client that you want to serve, then what happens, and we see it all the time, I've been there too, is we create something because we're so excited and passionate about it, but we never checked with them. We never used their language. We just created what was in our heart. And then there was a disconnect because they didn't feel heard, seen, supported. What's your thoughts on that? From client persona to even the sales process?
Absolutely. And Facebook groups are such a great place to kind of, I'm going to use the word lurk again, to kind of just lurk and kind of check out and see what their answers are. Like the really big Facebook groups too, or even your Facebook group, where you can go look out and see like whether they put their answers on to, those big overarching questions. You can find out what they believe, what they care about, what's their motivation on things, and what are their goals? What are some of their obstacles that they're facing? Those obstacles that they're facing can really help you create those products and services that can really help them meet those goals. You're here to help them, to guide them. And you can also find out too what kind of, through kind of your research and understanding, by talking to them and kind of looking at the Facebook groups and their Facebook, or maybe even LinkedIn or other things too, what kind of brands they prefer, because you can kind of see what kind of pricing level as well, um, where they're at as well too. You can see maybe what they buy from, where they shop, what they like, that kind of thing, because all of this information is out there for you, and it's just at your fingertips. But you can really, really meet them where they're at, and that's the most important part, because I really feel like serving with empathy in mind is really, really a key aspect here. And I love what you said, and I think that's something super, super important. We can create from our heart. That's an important, critical part too. But we have to keep them in mind. Their needs are so important. That's the most important part. We have to understand what they need.
Yeah, so it is so critical. I want to know, about maybe 10 months ago, I sent out I work with women on the path of self-discovery too, as well as women entrepreneurs. So I have two: intentional life, intentional business. But I sent out a survey with very specific questions around mindset, what their struggles are, etc. 30 pages later, when we ran the reports, the insights, the answers, the truth, the vulnerability, they didn't just check boxes. There was some check boxes, but a lot of it was open-ended questions. I wanted to hear the language that
Mm.
they used, the vulnerability. I received so much more information about the ideal client persona on a project I am working on that was amazing, because I listened to them. And I wanted to say, very strategic surveys to your audience, and you have to be very clear on your surveys. You can't
Yes.
just ask a survey and then there's nothing you can do with the information.
Hmm.
Is a beautiful way, even for a beginner, whether your list is 100, is to hear them, to listen. So if you're a health coach and you ask what your number one struggle is, that language they use is your part of your ideal client persona. Do you use surveys too in that way?
Absolutely. I was about to suggest that too, because even something as simple as when you give a freebie, for example, let me give you a really great tip here. When you do something for like a freebie, even after they download a freebie, sometimes you can do a survey at the end of it. Perhaps something like, what brought you here today, or what are the biggest struggles you face in your business? You get some really great language there, and it's in their own words. And it's so great to see like where their struggles are and what they're at. Even in some of the questions that you may have in your discovery call form, you can get some really great answers there too. Like what brings you here to, I mean, what brings you here today is kind of a generic one, but like what are your goals, or, what obstacles do you face? Some of those questions can really just, bring forth some really great answers. And then when you're on the discovery call with them, wow, you get some, that's where the really juicy tidbits are, is when you can really have that one-on-one conversation with them. But sometimes you're not able to, but you can, if like I said, when you can get that download survey, the post download survey after your freebie, that's good. That's a good one too. So
That's a great tip, to incorporate that after they've gone through it. And
mhm.
then it gives you some more insights and language. So do you hear, ladies, what we're doing is, it's like really listen. And I love that you are about empathy, because to me it's about connection, right? Heart
Absolutely.
listening, authenticity, those are all the same. We share the same values when we're communicating with our audience. But all these tips and strategies, and I want to go back to what Bob first said, is if you're out here with your message, then it's harder to reach those that are our yummy clients who are in here waiting for you to speak to them. And we all go through it, so don't judge yourself, but start going, okay, if this is my message, how can I narrow down and speak to one woman? So when you send an email out, she feels like you're talking to her, not to a group. That's critical too.
Yes. Yes. I love sending, I mean, when you send a mass email out, I love getting a reply, and letting them know, like they let me know, like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for this email. It feels like you're speaking to me. And it's like, that was the goal. Yes, I did it.
Yeah, it's like this intimate conversation.
Mhm.
And ladies, the best way to think about it is, how would you want to feel on a discovery call? How would you want to feel in a coaching container? How would you want to feel when you receive an email? You want to feel heard, you want to feel understood. That's what they want.
Well,
And
yeah, because it's all about building that relationship, right? That's what it's all about.
it builds the know, like, trust factor too.
Yeah.
So is there any other strategy you want to share to help them get clear on their client persona? You shared so many great tips now, but as we come to a close, is there anything else you want to share, inspire, empower them on?
I think the meditation aspect of envisioning future version is really, really important. Don't skimp on that. And envision really what that dreamy person looks like. For me, it's like my dreamy client, she becomes my friend
Yeah.
because we hang out. We hang out a lot. We do a lot of strategy work together up front. We become friends. And keep that in mind, because it's really important. Don't skimp on this, because and like Linda said, be forgiving of yourself, because we all go through this. We all fight it. It's okay. But the sooner you can resist the urge to niche down and just go for it, you will do yourself a bigger service, I promise.
Yes. And for all those who feel, I've already done this, your business is evolving just like you as a human are evolving. And what may have worked for 5 years ago, maybe you've evolved in what you desire, how you desire to serve. Make sure your ideal client persona goes with that. Because I know I've changed just in the 18 years I've had Aspire. Um, I'm evolving at all times. The language I use, who I want to play with and work with, has really evolved, right, as I evolve.
So
So
true.
I want you guys to give yourself permission to play. And it's a fun exercise, as you said, meditate on it. Grab your journal, grab pictures, Like I
Yeah.
love cutting out pictures and creating something in my big art journal of ideal client. The more you can identify, even I put feeling words. She's positive, she's spiritual, she is open-minded, she's open to possibility. Like I put words like that in there because to me it's a lot about energy and feeling.
Oh, 100%. And it's something that I love to use too as a great a great resource for me that I go to all the time is wordhippo.com because it gives you it's something better than thesaurus.com in my opinion. Wordhippo.com when you're looking for, synonyms and all of this kind of stuff for attributes for this particular person, go there. You can drill down like so many different options on how to describe this person. Like maybe the word spiritual is too overused in your mind, or maybe authenticity, you're just kind of like over that word. Maybe you want something, or authentic, maybe you want something different to better describe this particular soul client for yourself. Go to Word Hippo, type in these words, check it out and see. But keep revisiting this. You're never branding clients come to me whether they're brand spanking new or they've been in business for 20 years or so. You always need to revisit this. This is something that you're never done because we as humans, we constantly evolve, as does your business, as does your soul client. So keep that in mind. You always want to keep revisiting this. It's super important because you do. You are important.
No, this is a powerful conversation. I know it's going to give everyone some insights of, ooh, I haven't looked at that in a while. So y'all have some homework, and Barb has a powerful free gift for you. It's called the 5-Step Guide to a Magnetic Magical Brand. And what can they expect from that, Barb?
Oh my goodness. So I love this because you will be able to kind of help you magnetically attract your ideal clients with and align your energy. It'll help you to kind of share your passion, your purpose, and your expertise. It'll help you to align your offers and your transformation, and it'll help you to discover some ways to show up that feels lighter and energetically aligned. So I hope you download that guide, and I would love to know how it helps you.
It's right down below this video. Grab it, get to work on making a magical magnetic brand. Barb, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I know you've encouraged so many to do the work because we all put that part off, identifying our client. And it's so important. And ladies, I get it. I put it off for a long time when I started. It seemed overwhelming, but it's the best gift you will give yourself in your business. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, ladies.
Bye.